Welcome, I'm Jon Caldara, president of the Independence Institute and your devil's advocate. A little later in the program, we're going to talk about the illegal, undocumented minorities coming from South America. The kids, should Denver be their home? But first, I have been waiting for this segment for a long time. Yeah, I know, Colorado is known for all the great craft breweries and now pot everywhere, but let's get back to good old-fashioned whiskey. Did you know Colorado is now a craft distillery? I want to talk to some guys who are making this happen. Kristian Naslund, thank you for being here. Your distillery is called Dancing Pines.
Yes.
Why Dancing Pines?
Long story, but basically it's named after a song my wife wrote for me.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
And every time you hear it, you want to get drunk. Not bad. And from Spring 44, Rob Master. Thank you for being here, Rob.
Yeah.
Where does
Thanks
Spring 44 come from?
Spring 44 is in Loveland, and one of the three founders that started Spring 44, his father bought some property up off the Buckhorn Canyon, just west of Fort Collins, back in the 60s. And on that property is a spring that's named Spring 44. So the water from that spring is used in all our products, and it's the name of the company.
All right. This is cool. Now, Colorado has had this reputation for a lot of years as being a great craft brewing state. There's 100 and whatever breweries, from large ones like Budweiser and of course Coors, which is synonymous with the state, to all these small breweries. I had no idea that there were boozers out there. Tell me a little bit about the industry. And
the industry is rather young. About 10 years ago, a company called Stranahan started in Denver, and they are by far the biggest craft distillery in the state. They were actually purchased a couple years ago by one of the larger conglomerates. So Stranahan started slowly. Little distilleries were popping up here and there, and within the last 5-6 years, we've now exploded to 50 distilleries in the state. 9 years ago, there was one. 9 years later, there's 50. So.
And how long have you been at this?
We started about 5 years ago, and we were the 13th distillery in Colorado, and see how quickly it's grown in just the last portion of that short history we have in the state.
All right. You two will be a lot more interesting to me if I can drink while we're talking about that. So what do we have here?
Okay, so this is our first whiskey that we released. It's our bourbon whiskey. You can make bourbon outside of Kentucky. It's essentially it's essentially a corn whiskey that's made in the United States. There's a couple of other rules that apply to it. That's 88 proof. It's about 2 years old right now, and so I make everything up into the point that it goes in a barrel. So I do all the fermentation and distillation.
I always thought that if you were going to make whiskey, it was going to take you 20 years, and you had to have a castle somewhere in Scotland, that you had to have a long lineage going back to the 1400s. Can anybody start doing this?
Well, I wouldn't turn down the castle or the long lineage, but anybody can make whiskey if you have the right licensing and such.
How hard is it to get the licensing?
It takes time. It takes a little bit of time. You have to fund your distillery, find a space, buy the equipment, get insured, get a bond, follow all the rules, and then you can apply for your license. And that takes a considerable amount of time to hear back. So you've invested all this money into it, and then you can apply for it. It takes anywhere from 2 months to 6 months to really hear back on your license.
Really? So, just out of curiosity, from the time you say, I am doing this, and you write down the first check or you have the recipe, to the time you can make the first sale, how long does it usually take?
It kind of depends on the size of the distillery and what you want to make. If you're kind of on the smaller end, you can probably get things going in about 12 months. If you're on the higher end, the bigger distilleries, not the giant guys that are in Kentucky, but the bigger craft distilleries, it could take you 2-3 years. So.
All right. Bourbon here, vodka over here.
Yeah, so
I'm going to be a good example and teach kids how to mix their alcohol. What am I drinking?
This is our honey vodka. So it is Colorado honey that's been distilled, and then we take that distillate and we fuse it with vanilla beans and amber agave nectar to sweeten it up a bit. So it's really, really nice.
I don't know, but I can tell you almost instantly, both of you are looking a lot better to me. And watch how PBS works. They won't even show me drinking this. Watch. Here we go. And well, they did. There we go. See. Talk to me a little bit about that's terrific. All right.
Thank you.
You've been at this for hundreds and hundreds of years.
Yeah.
Your family started in this How long have you been in the business?
Personally, I've been in the business for about 8 years, and I did a 2-year apprenticeship before that, so I guess you could say 10 years, but I've been full-time for 8 years.
Why would anybody want to do this other than you've got the blues and you need some booze? What drives you into this business? Is this a big cash business? Are you looking to get rich?
Essentially, most of the distillers in the state they have a family business. And so that's what mine is. I work with my wife and my dad and her dad, and we have a great time. And it's just
Of course you have a great time. You're stoned all the time.
We get to make, wonderful spirits. We win lots of awards. We sell it to a good variety of people, and we enjoy it. So it's essentially something that we find satisfaction in making a product that people enjoy.
Stranahan's being kind of that first out of the box, I think, or at least the one that I've heard of. They give whiskey tours here in Colorado. They're in Denver. It has a great sort of name to it. It has an image. But then they got gobbled up by a big company. Is that right? Mm-hmm. So is that the goal here, that a craft distiller has the goal of getting bought out, that sooner or later maybe a big company comes. It's like Google buying up a software company. So
you're asking, is that the end goal?
Yeah, is that the end goal?
Distillers? I would say it varies by distillery. They, as he said, it's a business of passion and artistry and things like that. So it all really depends on your own personal situation. Some people definitely, they want to be bought up by the big companies, and that's kind of their retirement fund. Other people just really enjoy walking into their distillery every day and firing the stills up and just being one with the spirits. How about that? You like that?
One with the spirits. All right, there's all this romance with wine. All right, there are movies about, and we all know wineys. They talk about the palate and the legs, and they do a lot of this stuff. Beer guys, and I'm more of a beer guy, they get no respect at all. All right, they just swill beer. It's like it's beer. There's no sniffing it. There's no smelling the cork. You just drink a good beer. With whiskey, it's a bit more high end than beer. There is an image to whiskey. Does that go to Colorado as well? Do you think Colorado will ever become a whiskey state? We're a pot state now. How do you plan on competing with that?
I think the answer is in the demand. We're in 27 states, and people call us all the time and ask for distribution rights in different places and such. And Colorado has a really great reputation for fine spirits already, and even in this young industry. So we're winning awards all over the place.
Yeah, that's good. You just go right ahead. Yeah.
So I don't think there's so many different things you can do with spirits. Everybody drinks spirits, whether it's a cocktail or they're sipping their bourbon neat or whatever it is. There's so many different things you can do with this.
But how do you compete with the image of Kentucky? Kentucky is where you make booze. And if you lived in Kentucky, you would drink heavily too. But why is it that Colorado is now this hotspot? Or are we just the same as any other state? The craft distilling is becoming a thing.
Colorado is actually leading the way in craft distilling.
Really?
Between us, Washington State, New York State, a little bit of California. California's got a bit of an edge on us because of all the wineries. A lot of them have stills to make brandy out of their wine. But really, Colorado, Washington, Oregon to some extent, and New York are kind of the
but
big
why
states
Colorado?
for craft distilling. The Colorado culture really supports it because everybody loves local. If you really think about it, aside from Kristian and his family, there's not a whole lot of people that are actually from Colorado. If you walk down the street in downtown Denver and you say, were you born here? Maybe 10-20% are going to say yes. The rest of them all came here for a reason. And it's because they love this place, and so they also love the products that come from this place, and they get behind it and they support it. The Rockies, have great attendance, right?
What could be better,
been good for a while.
image than whiskey? This is Colorado. We had gunfights and whiskey.
Yes, absolutely.
This is Wild West, just upgraded a bit.
And the other side of that is there's a lot of creativity. If you think about if beer had come out and it was just another American lager, all these craft breweries just making the same beer everybody else has made, nobody would buy it. Yeah. But we're all making something different. We're being creative, and everybody's whiskey is unique and has its own character. And so you see that in the artistry.
I can taste the honey in this, and you also said there's some sort of vanilla in here.
Vanilla beans and then amber agave nectar. So.
But of course, amber. All right, and this, what's special about this bourbon? other than it goes very well with vodka.
Well, my wife is the barrel master on that bill. No, we work really hard to make something that we appreciate and we like. It's a very young whiskey, but we work hard to put what's in there to make it something special.
Are you guys making money off of this yet, or is this a long-term proposition that you have to wait years in order to sell enough to pay it back? Well, I see some hesitation in that young man's eyes. What about over here?
So my wife and I are providing an income for ourselves and a handful of other people. We've got 13 employees, and we're really proud of that. But I'm not making nearly as much as I did in my previous employment.
Which was?
I worked as a firefighter and a paramedic previous to this.
Really?
Yeah.
So you took a pay cut?
Yeah, but
because you really needed to drink.
Well, I was drinking just as much, so I think the wages are even with the discount and
bring the product. Do you think Colorado can handle yet another decadence? I mean, the craft brewing, that was something, but then again, we have agriculture, we have barley being grown here, we have all the ingredients. The whole pot revolution here has been identified with Colorado. Do you think that Colorado could ever have the image of, wait a second, we're the Kentucky of the West?
You think we have too much fun here?
Yeah, we have too much fun, or is it too decadent? Or do you think Colorado can actually compete with other states when it comes to whiskey?
Yeah, absolutely. And Colorado is also competing with other states when it comes to fitness, right? And so if we can we're one of the fittest states in the country, but also have these decadents, there's something to be said about that, right? Our people know how to choose, and they know how to do things in moderation so that they can still be very, very healthy people. Right, and so think about the outdoor attitude. Go hike a 14er, and you got a bottle of honey vodka in your pack. Get to the top and sit there, have a cocktail, whatever. So I think there's something to be said about that. Yes, we can have another decade.
Yeah, I have a hard time seeing Indiana as having that same image. Yeah. What's the hurdle for you guys? I mean, unlike the marijuana guys, you guys can actually get loans and have bank accounts. Is there a hurdle for Colorado to keep growing in this area?
We pay a lot of tax compared to the other alcohol makers. That's
really,
for
why
sure.
is that? Why would you pay more tax? Alcohol is alcohol.
Yeah, well, we pay a higher portion. Our taxes are higher than everybody else's on the excise tax. So, for example,
give me some more of that.
For example, craft brewers pay $7, I think it is, per barrel, which is 31 gallons, and we pay $13.50 per proof gallon, which equates to about this bottle. Would be pennies if it was beer, but it's about $2.50.
So you're paying $2.50 for taxes on that.
On the federal level.
On the federal level.
The state even gets in.
So even because you're a craft brewer, a craft distiller, you have to pay a lot more in taxes just for that. And then what about the state?
The state is 35 cents per liter. Is that right?
64 cents.
60, yeah.
Works out to about 35 cents a bottle.
Yeah, 35 cents a bottle. There we go.
So the real point here is, if we had less government, I could drink more for my budget dollar.
Sure.
Hey guys,
but the roads would have potholes in them. Right?
Thank you. Best of luck in this industry. Thank you so much, and thanks for the booze. Stay tuned.